All right, so part 2. We're going to take a deeper look at these machines, try to figure out what might be wrong, what might be right with each run, and go from there. So we'll start with this first one on the end. This is a 1985 based on the serial number. We know it has, from part 1, we know it has a replacement engine. Let's dig through it a little bit and see what we can figure out. So based on what I've done is I've gone ahead, raised all the hoods, and I have removed all of the grills. That way, if you're, this is what it's gonna be available for a quick look at, just a look-see. And so I haven't taken the side panels off. You know, they're all they should be 10mm bolts if you do take the side panels off, but you know, I haven't taken those off because we just want to kind of do a rough visual appraisal. So I'm going to walk around this machine, kind of look at some of the things that I think about. I'm going to start off, basically, I don't know, it really aggravates me when the hydraulic handles are messed up like this. Not necessarily a terrible sign, but you know, just something I don't like. Battery connections, these are all new batteries. They put them in right before the auction, but in this particular case, the battery terminals are pretty good. These grounds on the onans are incredibly difficult sometimes to solve, and it looks like this one's got a pretty good battery system. At this point in time, we're assuming that this tractor runs. We look at the rear. Next thing I'm going to look at is the rear tires. They should have lots of tread. They look perfectly fine. I'm going to look at the front tires. The front tires are pretty worn. And the reason I'm looking at the tires is because any costs that you're going to have, the tires are going to be, you know, 60 to 100 bucks depending on what you want. And then next, while we're down here looking at the tires, we're going to go ahead and look at the steering cylinder. Steering cylinder looks nice and dry. Sorry if my voice got really loud there. We're going to try to move it around. There's a little bit of movement there at the joint, right at the knuckle right here. Then we're going to go ahead, look in the back, see if there's anything there that might cause concern. Then we're going to go ahead. You can get under them if you want. Looks like there's quite a bit of grime and everything on the differential, which is not unusual, but it is there, so something to be aware of. The filter has not been replaced. Hopefully you can see this under here. The hydraulic oil filter hasn't been replaced, and there is no belly pan, so something to be mindful of. The front axle looks okay. Nothing overly concerned there. We'll see how much space we have in play. So it looks like we've got a little bit to play with in terms of front axle wobble. From an engine standpoint, let's go ahead and pull the air filter cover. You should be able to do that for sale. See what we might have to do this off camera because I can't do it one-handed. There we go. Okay, so this one, it is clearly a new engine because this is the one with the replacement engine. So the air filter, it has no foam pre-filter, which is slightly concerning, so it hasn't been oiled. And if it says failure to follow sequence below may allow debris, it's not necessary to remove this inner cover, clean debris from air filter housing, remove element, foam pre-cleaner, washer, detergent, water, rinse wrapper, squeeze dry, and allow to air dry, and then install 2 tablespoons of oil. The pre-filter on these machines is incredibly important. Obviously this engine does not have a pre-filter. That is slightly concerning, but we'll go ahead. A lot of times it is good measure. Go ahead and take this center housing off. Look in here, there's no oil, which is really good. Carb looks, you know, nice and clean inside. It's always good news. 1997, it might have an accelerator on it. That's something we can explore a little bit later. Another video. It's really nice having this many 318's at one time because it allows us to do some really cool comparisons. So where did I put? Oh, there it is. Okay, so the air filter looks good. Hood mounts look good. Normally these will be busted, and I'll show you an example of that here in a little bit. There is some rust up here, which tells me maybe some rats got in there, something like that. Headlights look good, and so we'll go ahead. Looks like some rat stuff in there. All in there looks good. Hopefully this video comes out. Now let's go ahead and stand down in front and see if we can see anything back in this engine that would cause us concern. It actually looks pretty nice and clean back in there, which is really nice to see. It shows the engine was cleaned. It is a Bendix style Bendix style starter. So the solenoid is up underneath the instrument tower, and that's the starter that attaches to the oil pan. Now this is a P series, so it has probably the original oil pan or the replacement. It looks like it has the replacement oil pan, because you can see that one of the oil drains right, can't get my hand there, right there. That is unique to the replacement engines. And then the former owner has kind of jerry-rigged an oil drain down there that has come out the side down here, right there. Next thing I would look for is look at these oil pans for feet, cracking feet, which doesn't look like either of these oil pans have, or either of these feet have been cracked. The PTO looks halfway decent. It does turn. It should be kind of tight. The muffler doesn't have any holes in it, which is always good news. Now, I said the hood was in good shape, but look at here. Once we lower the hood, we've got some through bolts. So that tells us the hood has been modified. The hood's been off, and these panels don't necessarily align like that. So that's something to not necessarily be concerned about, just to note. Nothing wrong with the dash. No big deal there. Oh, what is this? In the back, we see, if we look back here, we see oil right there on the hitch, and that is because, oh, lo and behold, the sight tube is missing. Now I know for a fact, I talked in the first introduction of these machines, I talked how people do weird things at auction. I happen to know that, guessing where this machine was setting, either somebody broke it off accidentally or intentionally, because it was not like this yesterday morning when I first looked at these machines. Or not yet, yeah, no, whatever day I bought them. Other than that, that might cause some issues, because we clearly have some low hydraulic fluid in this machine, which it does show in the drive. And so that can be kind of troublesome. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and walk down this row, and you're going to see that this one also has a busted sight glass. So fluid has come out of there. This one also has a busted sight glass. I think this one was like that the morning of the, yeah, this one was like it, and then this one has broken since then. But based on that break, I'm guessing, you know, kids playing on it or something like that did it. This one right here is complete, and it is not full, and so the sight glass should be right there, but instead it's down there. And then the good one on the end, my 318 is actually right in there. So it's probably a little low, but that's intentional on my part. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just glance over these machines, so this video is not just terribly long, because each one of them has a couple unique problems. In this particular case, the second machine, which was a 1990, if you look at this one, it's got oil and debris all over the steering cylinder, which should tell us that the steering cylinder probably leaks. That's just our best guess. And when we look underneath it, there's no belly pan, which we've already seen, but the differential is nice and clean. So that tells us that there's no leaks back there. If we look in, oh, can't get that one off with my fingers, but it looks like we got a little rat nest in there, or mouse nest or something along those lines. And then on this one, looks like we're missing some parts of the hood there. The front brackets are definitely not there. So that's something to be concerned about. And then if we, as the hood attacks me, and if we look down here, that oil pan right there has a cracked foot, if you can see it. At least it appears to be cracked from me looking at it. Yep. And then this side is not cracked. I don't know why this side always seems to crack. And then also at the same time we have something real funky in terms of the starter. I don't know what that is. It's probably the start. It's a homebrew starter engagement relay. So, and then the PTO turns, which is good. No holes in the muffler. This is a newer engine, so it's got the different release here. This hood, hey, there's a date. First shift 1/21/91. I don't know if that's for the hood or what. Let's see if we can get the air cleaner cover off here. Yeah, so this is hard to do one-handed. Hey, this one's got the foam pre-cleaner on it. That's good news. Air filter looks okay. And I bet I'll just take off the whole assembly. Oh, hey, mice have been in here. Nice. So we'll definitely have to get that cleaned out. So this is actually a pretty unique style air filter cover. In this case, I don't think it was around very long. I think it's specific to a certain year with this kind of square wing nut with a little lock notches in it. I'll put this back on there. So the air filter looks good. No concern there. Something I haven't talked about is firewall insulation. There's some of it remaining here, debris, whatnot. Actual steering cylinder looks really, really nice. Nice and clean. Underneath the machine is clean, and lo and behold, we have a screen, a belly screen, which is really nice to see. And then around front here, hood's in good condition, no problems there. But if you look at the hood, it's been repaired, and there's a little bit of paint right there. Feet on the oil pan are good. This engine's a little bit dirtier in the back around the fins, so it probably needs to be cleaned. Probably has a valve cover leaking or something along those lines. Underneath, the reason I'm looking underneath the oil pan and the PTO right now is it tells us that the front main seal is probably still really good. No problems there. And the last one, we've already kind of hashed this one out. It's got a homebrew dipstick, got mouse drop-ins up there. You know, overall just not necessarily a tidy machine. Steering cylinder got a little bit of wobble in it. Steering cylinder's halfway decent. It's got a replacement bolt right there in the rear. I believe that's a replacement. And oh, we have leaking oil. In fairness, the auctioneer and I did that when we loaded it, so that's my fault. We pinched that tube right there, but it does have some oil underneath it, probably from the engine. So the hood is actually in halfway decent shape. I believe it's been repainted. And the feet look good, but the engine is particularly oily. And so all that's going to really inhibit cooling. It's particularly oily on this side, so I'll have to look at the valve covers. So, and then the last one, this is my 318, foam pre-filters on it, everything. Steering cylinder's good. Belly screen's on it. Differential's good. I have no idea where those leads came from. This machine, if you look, right, hopefully you can see this at the front axle right there. That's actually a repair that was done by the dealer. I have the paperwork on it to straighten out the front end. And then let's close the hood. It is an original hood. I do have a don't ignore this as well. So feet are good. I've got a little bit of oil coming out of there at the dipstick. The P series. The B series engines have dipsticks that are pressed into the oil pan. The P series require a O-ring. Evidently that O-ring is leaking, or it is just oil dripped down from the looking at it, it's probably oil that's dripped down from me checking it. Engine cleanliness wise, it's probably it's okay. Got a little bit of oil right there. I'm gonna have to follow through with that. I can't remember if I have a points cover gasket on this engine or not. Front seal's good. Everything about that one is fine. I keep pretty good track of this tractor. Hasn't been used much, but so anyway, there are kind of the visual appraisals of all these machines. Now it's time to put the grills back on and move to part 3, which is let's crank them up and see if they smoke. Thanks for watching.